I'm Robbie Kellman Baxter, the author of The Membership Economy and a subject matter expert on membership and subscription models. Today, we are going to talk about why marketing needs to happen after the moment of transaction, not just before, and why your sales team is probably not compensated to do the things that really matter. Stay tuned.
Congratulations! You are tuned into Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Show, the #1 podcast for Fortune 500 executives and those who are dedicated to creating a quantum leap in leadership. Your host, Dov Baron, is the founder of FullMontyLeadership.com. He's an executive mentor to leaders like you, a contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine, CEO World, and he's been featured on CNN, Fox, CBS, and many other notable sites. Dov Baron is an international business speaker who was named by Inc. magazine as one of the top 100 leadership speakers to hire. Now, over to Dov Baron.
Welcome, dear friends, fans, and fellow aficionados of leadership excellence. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Tips for Executives, part of the Full Monty interview series. I'm your host, Dov Baron, founder of Full Monty Leadership, and I'm here to assist you tapping into your deep greatness so you can reach that next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. Today, we're going to be taking an insider look at the changing face of business and why you have to get your customers to buy into not just a single purchase, or for that matter, even a repeat purchase. There's a whole other way of doing it. Remember, you can chat about this episode or any of our other shows on our Facebook group. If you just go on Facebook and look for Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Podcast, there you can chat about this show or any of our past shows. If you're a new listener, new viewer, thank you for joining us. Strap yourself in. We're about to go full Monty. Remember, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you tune into podcasts. We always need your help in staying relevant, so please get over to iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe to the show. When you do, go back into the Facebook page, let us know, and maybe we'll give you a shout out on a live show. You can also catch us on the traditional radio stations across the United States every Monday and Thursday, all the way from Las Vegas to Philadelphia. If you're a regular listener, big thank you to you for making us the #1 podcast globally for Fortune 500 listeners, with a potential reach of 2.5 to 4 million listeners for every show. We're honored and grateful to be cited by Inc.com as the #1 podcast to make you a better leader. And remember, you can find us on Google Home and Alexa by simply saying, play Dov Baron Podcast. Again, thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. All right, let's strip it down and dive right in. As a leader, whether you are a CEO, someone in the C-suite, a sales leader, an entrepreneur, a leader in any capacity, you know that business leadership, and maybe most importantly, the way the economy moves, have all changed. We've all heard of the share economy brought to us by the popularity of sharing cars. But do you realize there's a new emerging economy that the leaders and business entrepreneurs are already moving into? It's called the membership economy. Did you know that? Well, stay tuned because you're about to find out. Our guest on this episode is Robbie Kellman Baxter. Robbie coined the term membership economy. Robbie Kellman Baxter has been advising entrepreneurs and on business strategy for 20 years. She has worked with nearly 100 organizations, including 20 industries, on growth initiatives. She's a sought-after writer, keynote speaker who has presented at top universities, associations, and corporations, as well as to corporate boards and leadership teams around the world. As the author of The Membership Economy, Find Your Super User, Master the Forever Transaction, and Build a Recurring Revenue, a book that has been named as the top 5 marketing books of the year by Inc.com. Prior to launching Peninsula Strategies, Robbie was a strategy consultant at Booz Allen in New York City, the Urban Fellow, and a Silicon Valley product marketer. Robbie is the leading subject matter expert on the membership and subscription models, and the author, as I said, of The Membership Economy. She has advised companies including Netflix, the Wall Street Journal, and Electronic Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and help me welcome Robbie Kellman Baxter! And the crowd goes wild.
Best welcome ever.
Fabulous. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here. You and I met through a very good friend of ours and fellow guest of the show, my personal friend, Jared Nichols, the futurist, the new futurist. Good lad. And always pleasure to meet people that know Jared. If you know Jared and you're friends with Jared, yeah, you must be all right.
You're all right.
Yeah, maybe. So let's talk about this idea, which has become very real, which is the membership economy. I mean, you know, we think maybe leaders think about memberships as you have a gym membership. You know, you go to maybe you don't go, but you have a membership, which is probably more likely. So talk to us about this in the context of business and leadership today.
Yeah. So virtually every business can think of itself as a member business. The only exceptions would be if you don't care about what your customer thinks. So if you have a patent, if you're the last gas for 1,000 miles, you know, you don't need to have a relationship. But for the rest of us, having a long-term relationship with the customer, especially a formal one where you're getting paid on a regular basis in return for services, is the best way to smooth out your cash flow and to get a bigger valuation in the public markets.
So how does that work? I mean, I can certainly, I mean, you know, like you just made that categorization, but it's glaring and obvious at a small to maybe even medium, or maybe even growing into the larger size of entrepreneurship. But when we think about big companies, and you've worked with many big companies, but a lot of those big companies you work with are membership companies like Netflix. So when we think about it at another level of another larger company, let's say health technologies or something like that, how would it apply to a leader in that world? Yeah,
so there's a couple of different ways to think about it. So first of all, let's say that you are a big, successful, going concern company, like an Electronic Arts that sells video games in boxes, right? That's what they did for many years, hit after hit after hit. How do they think about building a more direct relationship with their customer? Through subscription, through creating a network so that game players can find each other and connect, creating more value for each player, and also creating more of a recurring revenue stream. So that can be done for virtually any kind of content provider. You gave the example of healthcare, which is one where membership is kind of exploding right now. Many healthcare systems are very transactional, right? Bring in a broken body and, you know, somebody will fix it, right?
Hopefully, maybe.
Hopefully, right? But they, like I've had surgeon friends say, you know, I prefer them to be, you know, silenced already before they come onto my table, right? There's no real relationship in a lot of cases.
Sure.
You flip that on its head, which concierge medicine is doing, and you focus on, you know, what I really want is to not have to go in there in the first place, right? I want to stay healthy enough. That is my forever promise that I want to have with my healthcare providers.
Yes.
Second way of thinking about it is the difference between consumer, which is the examples I've given you so far, you know, video games and personal health, and you said Netflix for, you know, for videos, to B2B. So you look at Salesforce, right? It used to be that you would buy the software and you would own it. And if it was obsolete, maybe you could patch it. Periodically, they'd send you a patch to upgrade or update. But really, you were stuck with the version you bought. And you had to manage the servers. You had to have a whole team of people inside who could, you know, deal with problems. And then they moved to software as a service. Flips that model on its head. And not only can you sell software as a service, so using a subscription pricing model, but what about building a real relationship with the people who are using that software, who are maintaining that software, who are making buying decisions? It creates a better, more stable business model.
Yeah, I also love this idea of being able to have a direct relationship with your customer. You know, we are all seeing stores in the mall closing down. And that was our direct relationship with our customer. You know, you had a front end person who interacted with the customer. And as people are moving more away from the mall and shopping online, etc., I think stores will always exist to some degree, but not in a generalized way the way they have. And a lot of the time it can feel very impersonal to be buying online. But this is a way to bring back that relationship. So, like I said, I really like this idea of direct relationship. But one of the things I want to talk to you about, which for me is very important, as you know, a lot of what I do and what we're focused on is purpose and purpose-driven organizations, purpose-driven leaders. And I want to talk about the tie between membership, a membership economy and a membership-based business and purpose. Walk us through how those things tie together so well.
Yeah. Well, if you have a membership model, a subscription model, you by definition have a long-term, you're hoping for a long-term relationship. If you're hoping for a long-term relationship, that means the customer is going to get to know you really well. If I walk into a store, let's say at the airport or on some street that I happen to be on, and I never go back there, there's no relationship. So if they treat me badly, if they give me the wrong change, if the product breaks, you live and you learn. But if you have an ongoing relationship, if it's not providing you the value you need and it's not trustworthy, you go somewhere else. So businesses that depend on long-term relationships, almost by definition, have to be focused on the customer's long-term mission. So not even just my mission as a CEO, but the mission of my members. And I would go one step further and say, it means that I can't love my products as much as I love my customer's mission. So for example, newspapers, right? Yeah. That was at one point the most efficient way for people to stay current on what was happening in their neighborhoods and their regions. Today, it's way more efficient for most people to find that on their phones. Right. I can just check and see what Trump said today. I can see, what the stock prices are. Maybe I don't want to see what's happening, but I can. It's really efficient versus, going to a newsstand versus ordering a paper every day and having it dropped at, 7 a.m. But what if something happens at noon? Do I have to wait till the next morning? So the form factor, the product is no longer the best way to help the customer achieve their mission. Another example is professional associations and societies. One of the things that they've historically done is kept people educated through physical training programs. You fly into DC for 3 days and you get your, your credentials updated. But now you can do that digitally. It's way more efficient. I don't need to go to a store if I want to buy a book. I can order the book and have it delivered sometimes in 2 hours. That's way more efficient than getting into my car and finding a parking spot and all of that. So what's really happening is the mission has to be the North Star for the organization. To say, I want to provide my customers with the best way to receive current information that affects their lives, newspapers, the best way to enjoy playing games with friends, right? EA. The most efficient way to keep track of my customers, Salesforce. So it's no longer just about the product. Libraries and Google have the same mission, to make the world's information available for free. But most people go to Google way more than they go to their libraries.
Absolutely. So just because I want to help everybody get clear on this, because I think that at first blush, it's easy to assume that membership and subscription are the same thing, and they're definitely not. So walk us through that so that people can really grasp that.
Yeah, it's really simple. Subscription is a pricing decision. Membership is a mindset. So I can have subscription pricing, as many companies do, and really not give a crap about my customers. Right? I can just say, well, that's how I price it. I don't know anything about them. I don't gather any data on them. I don't take care of them, but I charge them every month or every week or every year. Membership mindset is, I know I'm in this for the long term with this person. So the way I think about everything we do has to be optimized around a long-term relationship. So that means the way we design our product has to change, as we've discussed. It means the way we charge them has to change. That's subscription pricing. It means the way we support them when they have a problem changes, maybe even from being reactive, like I sit and wait for them to call and complain, to proactive. I call them and say, congratulations on signing up. Let me show you how to get the most value for that which you've already paid for. So everything, so it's really much bigger than just, change your price and leave everything else the same.
Yeah, I think in many ways, the thing that made it clear to me is that subscription is passive and membership is active. If I own a platform that is subscription based, you get to use it, you get to use it as often as you want or as often as outlined for X amount of dollars a week, a month, a year, whatever it might be. And I basically can go stick my thumb up my bum and not really pay attention for the rest of the time until a week out or 2 weeks out or a month out, and then I start nudging you to buy your subscription again.
Yeah.
Whereas in a membership site, I'm actually interacting with you, the customer, and saying, do you like it? Is it working for you? What else do you need? Here's how to get more out of it. Here's how your friends are using it. Here's how our best users are using it. And the other thing about it is that membership is not, there's nothing about it that's static, right? I mean, it's not static. I mean, nothing about it that's stayed. It's moving all the time.
Yeah.
It's moving in its form, and it's moving in its communication with the customer.
Yes, absolutely. Membership is absolutely active. Membership is about the way every person in the organization thinks about their customer. And you can have a membership mindset and not charge subscription pricing.
Right.
Apple for many, many years did not offer much in the way of subscriptions, but the way they treat you, they expect all the products work together. We support everything. As long as you commit to us, we commit to you. That's very much a member mindset, even though, you couldn't actually subscribe to their software, or even to now, they're letting you subscribe to their hardware where you can get, replacements every year and so on.
Right. So this is important, but I want to hear from you, and our listeners, our viewers need to know, why does this matter to leaders today? Why does this matter to Fred Bloggs, Susan Brown, who are the CEOs of Dingleberry Inc., or, they're the CFO or the CMO or the CIO or the C something O of XYZ Inc.?
So the first reason is, if you're a public company, your board is telling you have to have subscription revenue. Sometimes they call it service revenue. Sometimes they call it subscription. Sometimes they call it recurring or continuity. But every board is pushing their leadership teams to think about subscription pricing. So that's kind of reason number one. And the reason that the boards are doing that is because they're seeing that companies that have subscription revenue get higher valuations. So it doesn't matter if you're in software, content, hardware. I just spoke at the Association for Equipment Manufacturers, which is big machinery. This is like, your jet engines and cranes and threshers and crusher. I mean, stuff I did not, honestly, not something
that we're exactly familiar with.
Right, not something that this suburban gal was really familiar with. But what was really interesting is they're all thinking about service revenue. They're thinking about putting sensors on their machines and using the data they're collecting to provide ongoing value for the people who buy their products. Now, it used to be that if you bought a crane, I didn't know any of this, but a crane is like $1 million to buy. So most construction teams or organizations, if you're a purchaser, you might only buy one crane in your career. And the minute you buy it, it's obsolete, right? Because they're working on the next crane.
Right.
So this is a way of smoothing that out and giving you a way to, if you look at what Tesla's doing, right? The software gets fed into your car, making your car updated even after you roll it off of the showroom floor. And that's what these machinery guys are thinking about as well. So anybody can think about, not just as a way of getting more revenue, but as creating more value. I know you're so mission oriented. This is a way for organizations to really continue to focus on delivering on their mission with their customers after that moment of transaction. The moment of transaction becomes the starting line for the relationship. And there's more value you can provide. And as we know, when you provide real value, the customer's willing to pay real money.
Right. So this is really, I can see why this would be difficult for a lot of leaders to get their head around, because they've been trained around transactions.
Yeah.
Right. So, we brought 5, 10, 15, $150 million in by a transaction. Does this, what I'm wondering, and when I first started reading through your stuff around this, was, does this lower the transaction price because there's a longer relational, financially, but personally, but actually real relationally as well? Does it lower that initial transaction?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really interesting challenge that a lot of companies don't fully think through. Let's say that you work at let's say a big software company, business to business software. And let's say that you, usually your deals are about $600,000. And you do, let's say you do 10 of those a year. So you do $6 million in revenue.
Right.
You go out, you're a big game hunter. You go out and you kill the mastodon and you drag it back to the cave and leave it there for other people to deal with. Right? Now, suddenly we're asking you to become a farmer. Right? It's really easy to make that first sell, and the first sell is very small. It might be $60,000 instead of $600,000. And it's way more important that the person or the company you sell it to is a good fit for your offer, because otherwise they're going to cancel their membership or their subscription. So your job is totally different. And the way you're compensated is going to be different. It's not just going to be on the acquisition of the new logo, the new customer. It's going to be on how long do they stay.
Yes.
So all kinds of stuff happens, especially for companies that are going concerns, that are transitioning. Because if I'm that big game hunter, and now suddenly you're telling me that I have to get way more of these much smaller deals, and I have to make sure that they're going to stick around, and maybe I don't even get my full commission until year 2 or year 3 of each relationship, that might not be what I am good at, what I like to do, what feels comfortable for me. So 1, I may go look for a different job. 2, I might fail. And 3, I might push back really, really hard on the leadership team when they're trying to make this transition. I might refuse to do these deals. I might pretend I don't understand. I might use back channels to create pushback. So this is actually not just about strategy. It's also a lot about culture.
So talking about it at that level, let's talk about all that pushback. As a leader watching, listening to us, how do they deal with that pushback?
So the first thing is, leadership team needs to be convinced that this is worth doing. So what I've seen in a lot of successful organizations that are already making money, right? Where you're already, like I had one client, I won't say who it was, but at one of the meetings, he said, the last thing he said before he left the working team was, hey guys, this is a $25 billion business, so don't screw it up. Because you're changing how you're going to charge people. And like, what if your $25 billion business suddenly becomes an $18 billion business because you didn't price it right, or people don't stay long enough? So the first thing you want to do is really test it. Like I always say, like off to the left of the org chart. So you don't want to take your whole sales team and your whole product team, but you want to find like one small market, maybe one small product, and test and learn until you have a level of confidence that this can work rolled out in a broader way. You need to understand which customers aren't going to like it, who you're going to lose, how you're going to handle that moment when people say we hate this, like what Adobe dealt with, right? With Adobe, when they made this transformation, when they'd done a lot of preparation before, they knew that there was going to be a small and very vocal group of people, mostly designers who moonlighted, who paid for their own software, who were going to say, I don't need a subscription to the best software. I'd rather have not best software that I don't have to pay for every year.
Right.
And they knew that was not their target audience. Their target audience was professional designers who were getting their equipment paid for by their companies and who needed to be absolutely current with the best tools. So the CEO first needs to really be confident of what their strategy is. Second, they need to support the transformation and be really, really clear about it and what the expectations are. And third, they might need to change compensation to incentivize people to behave differently.
Well, I think it was something you just said there that really stands out is I think you've got to get really clear on who the customer is, because the customer in the context of a membership economy might be at least a little and maybe quite different than the one you've been going after. You might be a lot more sort of targeted than a buckshot,
Yeah.
So I think that's probably another piece of it there. I know, the thing that I find interesting about it is I had a membership site. I'm just trying to remember the year. It was 10 years ago when nobody was doing membership sites, and I worked it to death and eventually just gave it just like, okay, I'm done, because I was putting stuff into it all the time, and it was so new that people they didn't understand it. They didn't understand paying X amount of dollars per month to be part of something that I would update on a regular basis, and I was adding content to all the time. Let's talk about it on the level of that, on the level of where there is, you're bringing in fresh material all the time. Because one of the things I'm a big fan of talking about is that, you would know this too, because we've been around the business long enough, but there used to be a saying when it was called Web 2.0, which was before social media, when there was just a website. And we used to say back then that content is king. Content is not king. Content has died a death because every man and his dog's got more content than he can possibly manage. And when your potential customer goes online, they're going to get bombarded with content. So content is not king. So what is, in the context of this, what would you say is the real king?
I would say the relationship,
the
trust and the communication. So you were talking about targeting your audience. A lot of bigger companies have never done that before.
No.
They've never gone direct. They've often gone through a third party. So they don't even really know, like if you think about like Gillette with their razors, they don't even really know who's actually using their razors. But you know who does? Dollar Shave Club. They know exactly who's buying them, how many they're buying, how frequently they're replenishing, how much shaving cream they're using. So it's a very different kind of audience, and relationship. In your case that you were describing with a thought leader or subject matter expert creating content, the content is one piece of it, but another piece of it is the relationship between the subject matter expert or thought leader and their community. And even more importantly, it's the creation of a community of like-minded people under the umbrella of that leader. So, maybe I, as an entrepreneur, I want to hear your expertise. You're very wise. You have great experiences, but I also want to be able to come to you with my direct and specific question that I haven't heard you answer. Because I have specific nuances. Maybe I just feel that way, or maybe it's true. And I might want to talk to the other, hundreds of people who are dealing with the same things as me. Maybe you're way ahead of me in terms of what you've done, or maybe you're not dealing with, I don't know, having children or trying to really make a living as a speaker versus a consultant. It's great. I'm sure there's little subgroups. So there's so much room to build a strong relationship. And that's what makes people join for the content often. They say, I need that program, but they stay for the community and the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you've been around the business world advising for 20 plus years. What made you realize and flip your brain to go, this is about a membership economy? What made you realize that this is actually where it's going?
So I was a consulting generalist at first, and I worked with everything from salty snacks to airlines to concrete. I mean, you name it, I worked with it. And then I got Netflix as a client, and I fell in love with their business model. I was like, first of all, they're getting recurring revenue, which was like, I was like, wow, the money just comes in a predictable way. And they knew how long that relationship was going to last. They understood, lifetime customer value, which made it easier for them to figure out how much it cost they were willing to spend to acquire a new customer. So I was like, this this whole way of thinking is so much more elegant and so much more effective than what my other clients are doing.
Yes.
And then as I was working with Netflix, I started getting calls from people who heard that I was working with Netflix. They said, hey, we want to do what Netflix is doing. So for example, I worked with Zoomerang, and then I also worked with SurveyMonkey, right? I worked with Oracle. I worked with Yahoo Premium Services. They were all thinking about this same thing. Like, how do we build a long-term relationship? How do we do predictable revenue? What does it mean for our products? What does it mean for customer success versus, the old customer service? And so that's really where the light bulb went on for me, is that I started to see that there were actually patterns and frameworks that almost any company could use. And as I kept pressure testing those models, I kept finding new uses for them, right? First, I thought it was just, I was calling it digital premium services. And then I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be just digital. It can be, soap or shampoo. It can be newspapers. It can, and then I had a friend who was really involved with professional services organizations, completely plays in there. And you just start to see, it works with gyms. It works with loyalty programs. I mean, right now there's so much going on with loyalty programs, paid loyalty programs.
Right.
And every company wants that forever transaction with their customers.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge has been, and we know this because many of my friends are high-level entrepreneurs. The challenge has been consistently attrition. We know that somebody comes in, they buy into, they subscribe, they buy the membership, whatever it is, they pay for it, and then they drop off. And we know, like, even in the physical world, I ran gyms 30 odd years ago. You'd sell all your gym memberships end of December, beginning of January for the New Year's resolution. The gym was packed for 6 weeks, and then nobody would show up until May, because May the sun starts coming out, and people go, "Oh my God, this can't go to the beach," so they'd be back in the gym again. And then in the summer, they would not be in the gym because they'd be on the beach. And then fall in, whatever, it's going to be Thanksgiving, and I'll eat enough potatoes and I'll start again next year. Meanwhile, they paid for a year and probably not going to renew because they'll start beating themselves up. So the key to overcoming attrition is, I've got my ideas, but I want to hear what you say.
So for me, it's thinking, like I said, thinking about the moment of transaction as the starting line. So that means if you think that that's the starting line, that means you have to get the right people in who are going to get value. So for example, if you know that this person lives 150 miles away from that gym, even if they don't understand it and they subscribe, they're going to cancel because they're never going to go. They're not going to get value. So having more discipline on acquisition is key. Once they join, onboarding them. So actually making sure that they're getting value for what they're paying for is really important. It's understanding that engagement is the leading indicator for retention. So if I start disengaging, I'm probably going to cancel. Now, there's often a huge lag time for a bunch of reasons, right? I join the gym. I go every day in January. I go once a week in February. I go once in March. And I still haven't canceled, even though I'm getting no value in April. Right? It might take me till May or June to cancel. So there's that lag time. So you don't want to confuse inertia with loyalty.
Right. Yes, of course.
And so when you see that behavior changing, when you see disengagement, you need to intervene and say, hey, I noticed you're not coming so often. How can I make this? What is getting in the way of you getting the value that you hope to get? Right. So those are some of the very tactical things that I think organizations can put in place to minimize churn and maximize retention.
I think that, something you just said there, though, that I think is very important because, as I said, I know we're circling back, but in the beginning we talked about subscription is passive, membership is active. And this is really what you're saying is, we used to think in the subscription model that they buy, we sell the hell out of it, we get them to buy, and then we leave them alone. Right. And then we hope that they're going to buy next year too. But with this, there's a constant relationship. And and I see it at two ends. One is we interact with our customers who are interactive with us.
Sure.
Okay. Or we see the other end, which is we only interact with our people who are drifting away. No, you actually have to interact with both.
Yeah.
And how you interact with them might be quite different, but you actually have to interact with both. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So as a leader, watching, listening to this right now, and they're, maybe they're having a challenge getting their head around this. What would you say to them? What would you get them to, aside from the fact that a board is going to say you need a membership model, how would you help them to get their head around this as a challenge for them? Because they may not see it yet. Because oftentimes we don't see stuff until it's hit us on the head and moved on.
Yeah. So it's funny, when I wrote The Membership Economy, I was trying to prove, the book was all about why. It was proving to people that this was a thing that they need, that executives, leaders needed to be thinking about and understanding and trying to implement. Now it actually feels like it's much more of a how question, where organizations are saying, I get it. I understand that subscription is recurring revenue, allows me to plan better, allows me to invest better, makes acquisition more affordable, that all that data that I can collect is valuable in and of itself. So I feel like most executives, they understand that this is important, but they don't understand how to apply it in their own business. And the biggest mistake I see is they come and they say, we want to be the Netflix of.
Yes.
Right? We want to be the Netflix of healthcare platforms. We want to be the Netflix of heavy equipment. And that means something different for every person, because Netflix has so many elements. So what you really want to get to is to say, hey, take a step back. Who are the customers you want to have a forever relationship with? What is it that they expect from you? What is the mission that they have that you can help them achieve? And how do we structure something that does that for them? And then we look at all of the elements that you can incorporate. So you can have access, you can have service, you can have community, you can have discounts, there's a million things that you can throw in there. And another mistake that I see organizations doing is they throw in a bunch of junk, right? Everything in the kitchen sink. You get like AARP, right? You get a 5%, probably you're not old enough for that, but I just turned 50 and I am now a card-carrying member of the AARP. And they give you all these discounts, many of which aren't such great deals, aren't any better than what I can get myself.
Right.
So it's you have to kind of dig through and figure out where's the actual value here. Whereas a good membership model, a good subscription, it might only have one feature that is really great, but that gets you to sign up because that's something that you're going to need for the foreseeable future.
But again, that's knowing your customer. It's really knowing that customer, because one of my quotes is that value is values based. Yeah. Meaning I don't care. Like somebody says to me, this antique chair is worth $30,000. I'm like, no, it's worth $40. I'll give you $40 for it because I don't give a crap. But for somebody who collects antique chairs, it's worth that amount. And somebody else says, well, this dinner is worth it. It's only worth where the value is in the perception of that individual, and finding your customer, recognizing your customer, so that you can understand where the value is for them, what matters to them is so. And by the way, I will say that is not easy.
Right.
It's not an easy process. That takes some work, that takes some dedication, takes some commitment to actually ask the questions rather than assume. Because most of us who do sort of profiling on our customers, and we build that okay, this is my customer, most of it's guessing. But actually asking, that's a whole different deal.
Well, asking and also looking at the behavior. The good thing about membership and about having an ongoing relationship is you can actually see their behavior, because as we all know, people lie, right? I think of the example of I don't know if you've seen these little tins of sausages that you can buy, but the way that people talked about how they were going to use them was they were going to heat them up and serve them to their family. But the way people actually eat them in their homes is they open it over the sink and they shove it in their mouth on their way out the door. Right? And so, you know, people don't always tell the truth about what
No.
they're going to do or how they use your product. So the fact that we as entrepreneurs can actually look at what people are actually doing. What are people actually reading? What are they actually clicking on? How often are they actually coming into the gym? How much time do they spend and where do they go? And then optimizing around that. It gives you a lot of, actually, you know, people say it's hard and it's expensive, but it also makes things easier and cheaper because you can say, for example, oh, nobody ever goes in the pool. Let's close the pool and put a yoga room there. It's cheaper for us and more people will like it. Or let's close it and say there's 10 people who love the pool, but if we got rid of that, we'd save so much money. They're not our best customers. They're really hard to please. Let's cut there and be more focused on serving the needs of moms and put a playroom there or whatever it is. So it actually helps you to focus in and also to figure out which customers are actually your best customers. So you don't waste money marketing or advertising in a place where they don't hang out. So lots of opportunity with a focus and also a focus on that long term. So not like a lot of companies are very focused on the moment of transaction. So like every 18 months, we have a new product. We go out there, we pitch the heck out of it. We get a bunch of people to sign up for it. They may or may not like it. And we're already on to the next big thing. In a membership or subscription model, it's about continuing to add value for the people who are already paying.
Yes.
And so that's a very different way of product design. And it's a very different way of communication because you have to communicate to your existing customers that new stuff is coming down the pike. And you also have to, have new things all the time, even if they're smaller. So it's no longer like when I started, it was like an 18-month product cycle for most things.
So the obvious question comes up, which is, as a CEO, C-suite leader watching this, listening to us, says, okay, I get it, but now do I have to go out and hire a big team and, who really don't know what the hell they're doing? I mean, okay, they might read Robbie's book and they might even bring Robbie in to show them what is needed, but that's not the same as doing it. Yeah. Right? Because all ideas are wonderful until you have to, until it's boots on the ground, right? So what would you say to those people who are saying, I love this idea, I love everything about it, but Jesus, where do I start?
Yeah. So you have a couple of options. The first thing, of course, is, as we've been talking about, all morning, is, make sure you know who your customer is and who you're trying to optimize this for and what you're trying. This membership is one piece of a bigger strategy. So what is it that your business is trying to do? Is this a marketing tool? Is this actually going to be a revenue stream? Is this going to be core? Is this going to be one small piece? Figure that out first.
Yes.
Know that customer really well. That's a market research analytics kind of a challenge. And then either you set up a small team to try it and, like I said, way off to the left on the org chart, or a lot of companies that I've been seeing are buying or partnering with entrepreneurs who are doing this really well. So you see, I talked about, Unilever bought Dollar Shave Club. CVS, is working, I think, with Birchbox, the subscription box for makeup. Most of the big supermarkets now have a relationship with the food, subscription box, the meal kits. Yep. So that's another strategy, is to think about, Nike bought Easy Kicks, which is a subscription service for kids' sneakers.
Wow.
So that's a great way to buy the skills, to buy the expertise, and also to have it completely separate from the rest of your organization. Because you have to, as we talked about, you're eventually, if you move to a true subscription and membership model, every part of the organization is going to have to change their processes. You're going to need new software. You're going to need new skills. Maybe you have this small group over here that is already well functioning, and give them some latitude to use your big resources to grow that part of the business. So
build a prototype first, and if you can't, then buy a prototype. And integrate it. Yeah, that's fabulous. So you're a very successful lady. Like I said, you've worked with some amazing companies. You're very in demand. But I find that the successful people I know, usually had a turning point in their career. They had a point where they, what was the turning point in your life, in your leadership, in your business philosophy? What was it that got you turned around?
I think there were two for me. So I've always been in business, and I've always been like a good student and a straight arrow, went to a good college, got a good, corporate job, went to a good business school, got a good job out of business school. So the first place was when I stepped off that track and became my own boss. And I didn't do that necessarily totally willingly. I got laid off when I was on maternity leave. So I said, I know, legal. It's totally legal. But I decided at that point, like
in the US at least.
In the US, yeah. Well, as long as somebody just like you is not laid off. So if there's a pregnant lady that's not laid off, then it's not discriminatory, because they can say, hey, it's not, there's people like you who didn't get laid off, and there are people who weren't pregnant who did get laid off. So that was painful. Yep. But I said, I'm going to be in control of my own career, at least while I'm, raising my children. I can add a lot of value, but I can't do it with control in a company. That was the first turning point. Second one was when I said, I'm going to invest in writing a book, because that was the time, like after my book came out, it really transformed the work I was able to do. Partially because people started coming to me that I didn't know. It was no longer just a function of my own network. As good as my network was, it's much better when somebody just randomly calls from Korea. And, and also because it forced me to really think about what I know and to codify my expertise in a way that other people can use it. So those were really my two big turning points, starting out on my own and putting my best ideas down on paper.
That's really cool, because one of the things that I think that happens for all of us, I know it happened for me, is oftentimes we don't know what it is we know until someone asks us. And then we start saying stuff and we're like, and I go, shit, that was rather brilliant.
Right. I'm smarter than I thought I was.
Yeah, I'm smarter than I thought I was. But that's one of the things about writing books that I've found for myself is that, I start off with something and I think, I don't know if I know enough about this. And then I start writing and like, some of my books one of my books is almost 500 pages. And that's after I edited a third of it out. Because like, oh yeah, I guess I again know a lot about that. And that could, oh yeah. So I think that's a really cool point I think people should write a book even if they're never going to publish it, just to get your ideas down and get clear on it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and one of the really helpful tools when I was writing my book, you were saying, even if you don't think you know that much, sometimes I would write a problem that I don't know the answer to is. So for example, let's say that I just met with a client and they asked me a question and I thought, I don't really know the answer to that. And I would go home and I would kind of meditate on it and write about it, just free write. And often I would come up with an answer. And I would come up with an answer in a nice, succinct paragraph. And then from then on, when that problem came up, I actually had something to say. So it was really, even if as you said, even if the book never came out, that forced me to answer my own most difficult questions.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really good one. Who is a leader that you have really got a lot of respect for, or had a lot of respect for, and why?
So I would say Reid Hoffman at LinkedIn. A funny story, when the company before LinkedIn that he started was called SocialNet, and it was a dating site, and had very similar principles to LinkedIn around community, around having a forever promise of helping you find your soulmate. But the problem is most people, when you really focus, you find your soulmate in like 6 months. So the forever promise was only a 6-month promise. And then you don't want those people in your community anymore, right? You don't want people who are already paired off to be still members. There's nothing for them. And so then the next time that they started a company, they said, let's have a long runway. And they said, let's focus on people's careers, which, originally I think the model was around, from the time you start working until the time you retire. But now, my 18-year-old daughter's on LinkedIn, my 21-year-old college student's on LinkedIn, my retired father is on LinkedIn. And they do everything from being a Rolodex for our professional contexts to
Yes.
being a place for professional development. So I've created I think 10 courses for LinkedIn, video courses that are all available there. And then they have their LinkedIn Pulse, which is kind of like their news stream for business news. So they keep adding things that help us be successful in our careers. And the vast majority of that is available for free, which I love. Mm-hmm. And it really is valuable. Lots of people get huge value without paying, but also they make a lot of money because there's a small group of people, recruiters, salespeople, now people that want professional development, job seekers that are willing to pay a subscription for access to the deeper features and benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love LinkedIn, and there are some challenges with it, but I do love it.
Yeah.
What was the best piece of counterintuitive advice that you had given, or that you would give? So people think it's this way, but you got advice, guidance. No, actually it's that way, and maybe it's some advice you would pass on.
So one piece of advice that I would give is to dive in. If you're going to go entrepreneurial and go out on your own, dive in, go big, bigger than you think, at least for people like me, who are cautious, conservative, practical, analytical, want to figure everything out before you take the next step. There have been a lot of times when I've been onto something very early, but I've been so cautious that a whole bunch of people have blown by me. So I think that's a really important and kind of counterintuitive piece of feedback. The other one is to cut your hours, because cutting your hours forces you to be more strategic and disciplined with your time. So I had a mentor who stopped working every day at 2:00. And even to this day, my husband says to me, "Hey, it's after 2:00. Why aren't you out by the pool?" And of course, I'm never out by the pool at 2:00, but it's a good reminder that you don't have to work 80 hours a week to be really impactful with your clients and to help them be successful.
That's pretty counterintuitive, particularly in today's world where quote hustle is applauded so vehemently. If you're not working 7 days a week, which I've been guilty of many times, you're not working 12, 14 hours a day, then you really don't give a shit. You're not really diving in. You're not really hustling the way you need to. But that's a very different thinking, is to say, hold on a sec. There's a good book in that. Work ends at 2 p.m. Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't start at 4 a.m.
Right.
You can finish at 2 p.m. if you start at 4 a.m. No.
Yeah. But I know that when I started, I think I told you, I was on maternity leave. So I had 2 kids. I had a toddler, I had a baby. My mom did childcare until 4 p.m. every day. If I picked up my kids at 4:01, I got a whole talking to. Right?
The evil eye.
Why are you so late? And it really made me more disciplined, and I got more done. And then it kind of seeps out, and then it's and then you pull it back in. But we can all be more efficient with our time, and sometimes just the exercise of saying, for 1 week, I'm going to stop working every day at 2:00. You start to see, oh, look, I got everything done and I don't even feel behind. So what disappeared? What am I, what am I not doing?
That's a great challenge for our viewers and listeners to have. I think that would be a pretty huge challenge for me. So I'm certain it would be a huge challenge for a lot of other people too. That's very cool. As we come towards the end of the show, Robbie, tell us, what brings you joy?
Oh, I feel like my life is very joyful, actually, Dov. I think I really like the work I do. I feel excited about, I think I'm about to start writing my next book. I just signed a contract with McGraw-Hill, so I'm excited about that. I like my clients. I like speaking. I like my family. My kids are, between 15 and 21 right now. And those are great ages. You know, they're coming back to liking their parents again. They're smart, independent people, no diapers. So I love spending time with them, with my husband, yoga, cooking. I mean, there's so much to enjoy.
So what's your guilty pleasure?
Trashy TV.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is there one particular kind, or?
Oh.
Come on, let's reveal it all. This is the full Monty show. Let's go full Monty.
Okay, so my kids love Bachelor and the Kardashians, and I watch it all the time with them. And my highfalutin, high-minded statement is, it's really good bonding time with my children, and it makes me a better mom. But the truth is, I really enjoy it.
That's fabulous. Thank you. We really appreciate you sharing that. That is awesome. So as we finish up, please this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for all that you've shared. Please tell our viewers and listeners where they can find out more about you and all the wonderful resources that you offer.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. Membershipeconomy.com and the book, Membership Economy, which you can get on Amazon or anywhere, Barnes & Noble or your local bookstore. And Robbie Bax on Twitter, Robbie Baxter on LinkedIn, all the usual places. I'm not hard to find. So
fabulous.
I'd love to hear from your community.
Well, of course, we will make sure that is, of course, put on our show notes, and we'll share it out with everybody when the show comes out. It's been a real pleasure and honor. I hope you'll stay with us at the end. Thank you, Robbie.
Oh, such a pleasure, Doug. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for you, dear listener, remember, as always, you know what? No good to listen, no good to even watch. You actually got to do something with it. Information's with the hole in the donut. And transformation comes from application of the information. Remember, you can chat about the show or any of our past episodes on our Facebook page. Simply go to Facebook and look for Dov Baron's Leadership and Loyalty Podcast, and you can chat about this show with all the other listeners. Remember, the research consistently shows that one of the biggest challenges facing even the most successful companies can be somewhat counterintuitive, in that these fast-growing companies often hit a point where they realize that they're spending a fortune attracting, training, and developing their top talent, only have them leave at an alarming rate. If you're sick of investing in the training and development of your talent, only have them leave before you get your ROI, then come talk to us at fullmontyleadership.com, where we provide you with the essential leadership skills to rekindle and amplify the hidden loyalty assets inside of your organization by tapping into purpose. fullmontyleadership.com, providing you with the concrete soft skills to get you and your organization to the top and keep you there. Why? Because you can't outsource authenticity. Also remember to stop by the Matrix, matrix.fullmontyleadership.com. You don't need a triple W, just Matrix like the movie, fullmontyleadership.com, and get your authentic leadership matrix self-assessment tool. It's valued at $197, and as a regular listener and viewer of this show, you get to have it for free. And remember, you can get us on Google Play and Alexa by simply saying Play Dov Baron Podcast. Thank you for sharing the show with everybody you know. Till next time, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about the new economy, the membership economy, and how you need to get on it. I'm Dov Baron, and I'm here to assist you tapping into your deep greatness to reach the next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. And I am out.